tonight we will be creating this loaded envelope. And it's called a loaded envelope because it sort of looks like an envelope. It has two pockets. I've put a coordinating pen in this one. And if you recall last Tune In Tuesday, the taking notes class, I showed you how to fill the barrel of a Pentel RSVP pen. And so I took a 1 inch by 3 1/4 inch strip of the designer series paper and put that in that barrel, and it coordinates nicely. I forgot to do that on the video, and so I created 5 cards instead of 4 if you use a pen. So there is a little cheat in here. And then inside over here we have 4 cards with matching envelopes. And very simple, made from 1 sheet of designer series paper and then some other basic cardstocks. But this is the card that if I had not cut up a 1 inch by 3 and I think it was 3/4 or 3 1/4 paper, then I would have been able to fill the barrel of that. So I would have had 4 cards. So let's see how this is done. The first thing you need to do when bringing in your paper is decide which side you want the paper to be showing at the top and which side you want to be showing at the bottom. So this is a fairly plain pattern. I'm going to have this one showing at the top, which is the inside of the stuffed envelope, and I'll have this one showing at the bottom. We're going to score this at 3 1/4 inches and 8 3/4 inches. The other thing you can do is 3 1/4, rotate it 180 degrees and do 3 1/4 again. Then you're going to rotate it 90 degrees and you are going to score it at, let's see, 3 3/4. And that's all the scoring you need to do. You're going to bring in a bone folder. And you're going to score on those first score lines. You're going to fold and burnish on those first score lines. And then with them closed, you'll fold up and burnish that way as well. Now we need to adhere the pieces. We're going to apply some adhesive, and you need to use a strong adhesive, so I will recommend tear and tape, and you will apply it. Well, before we do that, I'm going to fold over this edge. So right from the corner down to the edge and burnish. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And burnishing just makes a nice crisp fold. So now you can see it kind of coming together here. We need to adhere this down together. You're going to put the tear and tape, actually put it on the one side on the outside here. I'm going to run it from the base all the way up to just where that edge is folded down. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the inside of the other piece. So make sure you are applying the tear and tape on opposite patterns, and then you'll be all set. You'll have this fold like this. You want to make sure that this is not folding down onto itself, because then you're not going to have a pocket. Now what this does is it produces, and I think you can see it here, 2 strips of tape, making it extra strong. You might be able to get away with 1, depending on how much you're going to put in it. If you're really going to load it up and stuff it, you want both of these here. I'm just going to fold that over And there we go. Now for this piece, we do need to adhere this up here as well. We're going to put adhesive on all of this. So right around the edges, the bottom, and the sides. Make sure I'm in the camera view, which I am, good. And this one. And then over here as well. And if you want, for extra sturdiness, if you're really going to be stuffing it, maybe put one in the middle. Then you're going to remove all this. And when you're putting it together, oops, I missed a little piece here. When you put it all together, want to make sure the sides line up. So I kind of put one side down, and then I put the other side down. Okay, and then I'm going to press. And you'll notice that this pops open just a little bit anyways, but that's your pocket, so you want it to. Now what do you do with these two pieces? Well, you can adhere those down with some sticky strip, not sticky strip, tear and tape. You can use some brads if you have brads. I'm gonna just use some tear and tape here. And you don't need a ton. Just take some pieces here. And we'll hold it down. If you want this edge to lay flatter, you'll want a piece down there as well. And because this is going to get stuffed, I would recommend still using the tear and tape instead of regular adhesive here. You could use Seal Plus, which will be very strong as well. But regular Seal is probably not going to do it, and the glue takes too long to dry. So there we have that down. And we have this down. And now we need to decorate. I'm going to bring in my Beautifully Happy stamp set. This is a $100 Sale-a-bration level, and it is a two-step stamping set, and it's also distinctive. You can see that these shaded pieces have some darker areas and lighter areas. That's what makes it distinctive. Gives a little bit more of a realistic look. I'm going to ink this up in my Memento Tuxedo Black. You could use a gray, you could use any color you wanted, you could use a navy. All right, so there I have that. I'll bring in this piece right here. Those are going to be leaves. I'm going to do those in, let's see, Pool Party. And I just need to line them up where they go, which is right here. The beauty of two-step stamping is you can be off a little bit and it's still going to look beautiful. This is just a very, very soft color. It is very, very pretty. I'm going to bring in this piece up here, and we don't need as big a stamp for that. Now these are closed flowers, so they're going to be green as well. And I just need to figure out how they line up. Let's see. I had it figured out. All right, so this one little lone guy here, he lines up at the base of this flower. And then you can just rotate the other ones until they line up. Okay, a little bit off. Again, it doesn't matter. It looks great. Now, if you want this darker, you could use a Stamp-a-majig, not a Stamp-a-majig, that's what we used to carry, a Stamp-a-ratus, and you could stamp twice, and that just saturates it a little bit more to make it the color a little bit more vibrant. Truth be told, my ink pads probably could use a little bit of refreshing, but I like the soft look of this, so I'm going to keep it. And now we need the floral part. So let me clean off my stamps. Put this other one on here. And for my flowers, I'm going to use the Balmy Blue. And I don't need as big a stamp as that, a block. So I'm going to bring in one that's more adequately sized. And this little guy comes over here. I'm going to try to line up the top one as well. That looks pretty good. All right, and so this pad is nice and juicy. So you can see that you've got the nice vibrant color there. And then all we need to do is add a little bit of color to the center there. And in this stamp set, there is a little dot for the center. Is that the one? Sure. We'll make it be the one. And we just need to pick a yellow. I'm gonna pick a So Saffron, I believe. So that's in the same color family as Pool Party and Balmy Blue. I know it'll go nicely. I'm just gonna put that right in the center there. And that just gives a nice little pop of color. I could adhere this on, but I am going to fussy cut it. And I know some of you don't like fussy cutting. And if that's you, you need to pick a stamp set that has coordinating dies. This one does not. I'll be back with the finished product. Okay, now that I have this fussy cut, and obviously I didn't pay attention to these pieces in here, but I could, and let me show you how I would get that. You can go right in between this flower and the other one next to it, and just cut around here a little bit. And you can do the same thing. Even though these two flowers overlap in here, you could come in here and do the same thing if you didn't like that little white piece that's in there. Just want to go carefully, make sure that you're not cutting off any stems. So I didn't cut out the whole part of the white, but I cut out some. And then do the same thing over here. So the choice to leave it or not is yours. Just a little bit closer there. All right. I am going to adhere this, but I think I want some ribbon in here. So to decorate this front pocket, I've gone ahead and I have embossed a piece of Balmy Blue with the gingham embossing folder. So it just puts a little texture on it and it mimics this paper. Let me go ahead and just apply that with some regular old glue. And I'm putting it by the pocket so I can easily identify that pocket. I'm going to put up here, I'm going to put a piece of Pool Party ribbon. So this is, now if you're tying a bow, here's the rule of thumb. Take this width and multiply by 4. So this is about 5.5. So I need about 22 inches of ribbon here. And I'm going to tie this over the corner here. And I find it easiest to tie it on its side. It seems to be what works for me. And then I fiddle with the ends. Now I need to adjust it so this one's a little bit shorter. So I'm going to pull over here a little bit. At my Love Cats class on Saturday, somebody's like, how do you tie that nice bow? I'm like, I don't know. I just have to play with it until I get it right. Just honestly, I've got no better answer. So I'm just gonna pull it and play with the ends until I have it, and that looks better than I anticipated, actually. Sometimes I surprise myself. I'm gonna trim my ends there a little bit. So I've got some decorations there, and I'm gonna add in this flower. Let's see. Why is it? There we go. I'm gonna add it right there. I'm okay if some of this sticks up, but if you want to anchor it all down, you can. I'm gonna put quite a bit of glue on here. I want it to stay pretty well. I will put the bases on here. I'll let the tops flop a little bit. So now we're just going to figure out where I want this to go. Just like that, we'll press it and hold it, and that'll stay down. So there's my little pocket. And now you can put some more decorations up here. It's totally up to you. I'm a little bit more minimalistic. We just need maybe some sort of statement over here. I'm gonna bring in the For a Feeling Better Kind of Day, because I'm gonna send this to someone who's just not feeling great. And I'm gonna bring in my Something Fancy dies. And I'm using the smallest one here, which is over at the die machine, but it cuts out this piece right here. I'm gonna bring in my, no, I think I'm gonna use my Balmy Blue again. Stamp that right there in the center. And figure out how I want to attach. I think I want to attach it just like that, but of course we will use some dimensionals to make it stand out. I'm going to use 3. And I'm going to stagger the bottom right here. I'm bringing in the Glossy Dots assortment. This color over here is Pool Party. I'm gonna just add a few of these gems. Let's see, let's add one there. And we'll add one of the bigger ones down here. And maybe the medium. Where do we want to put that medium? It's always the choice. Where do I put it? Let's put it right up there. And there we have our loaded envelope. All we have to do now is load it. I have created my own 6x6 one sheet wonder template. Now, if you Google 6x6 one sheet wonders, you will probably find several different templates. So you can create all sorts of different cards using a 6x6 sheet of designer series paper or paper that you make your own. But this is what I came up with. So I started by working on a piece of small grid paper. And you can see that small grid paper, or you can find it in the annual catalog. And it's right here on page 147. It's meant to go in the Stamparatus, but it doesn't come with the Stamparatus. You can purchase it separately. It's $6.50, 50 sheets, great for stamping on it, protecting your surface, but also really great for coming up with these 6x6 templates. So I knew that my first one, how I wanted that to look. So I wanted roughly a layer that's a little bit smaller than a card front size. So I decided to go with 3 3/4, and I know you can't really see that 3 there, but it's 3 3/4 inches by 5. You'll notice that there's one line in this whole thing that runs from one edge to another edge, and that's this one right here. That's always the first cut, the one that runs edge to edge. So I'm going to bring this in and cut at 3 3/4 inches. I'm going to set this aside. We'll use that later. But you can see this is that piece right there. So now where's my next cut here? My next cut is this one because it goes edge to edge. So of this piece, this goes edge to edge. So I'm going to make that cut, and it's at 5 inches. We'll bring this in and cut at 5 inches. Again, we're going to hold off on that one. So now you can see I have this piece right here. And I decided to split this into 2. Now you of course could keep this as 1. You'll just have 1 card instead of 2 out of this piece. But I've cut on a bit of a diagonal. It's not a true diagonal because it doesn't go corner to corner. It goes about 1.25 inches from this corner to 1.25 inches or so from that corner. And honestly, I don't measure this. I just say close enough. And that's probably 1 inch instead of 1.25 inches. This one might be 1.25 inches. You can see they're not equal. It's fine, doesn't matter because they're going on 2 different cards. So there's one piece, there's the other piece. So let's go back and take this little strip that was right here. These little hashtags, I couldn't find something to do with that one little piece. So if you can, go for it. But I'm going to take this strip and cut it into 3 1-inch pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3. And this is my leftover, and it gets discarded. So that's going to be on a 3rd card. Let me put my completed ones over here. So that brings us to this big piece that's over here. And again, how do I want to cut it? I want to make the cut that goes edge to edge. This is the one that goes edge to edge. So I need to cut it at 3.5 inches. I will turn this to 3.5 inches and make that cut. All right. Now, if I take this piece off, you can see that's where that went. And I've got this piece, and it's almost square, but not quite. This one goes like this. And I'm going to break that into 3 equal parts, 3/4 of an inch each. Now, I know some of you are thinking, I could never make my own template. You can with this. It takes a little bit of playing. And I'm going to tell you that, yes, it helps that I am good at math, but it's not really necessary. And especially if you're using my template instead of creating your own. But all right, so I've got those 3 pieces right there. Now, I started with showing you that this fit right here. And the reason I'm going to fess up right now, because when I did this before, and I was trying to film for this video, I had it turned, and because I wasn't paying attention, and I had it turned, and so I got 3 pieces that were not 3/4 by 2.5. I had a 3/4 by 2.25. I had 3 of those, and then I had a little bit left over, so I knew I was wrong. Had to shoot over. All right, so I've got these 3 pieces that belong on a card as well. So now we're going to bring in some cardstock. Here's one card that I have that's Balmy Blue. Here's another one that's Coastal Cabana, because that's the color that goes in here. Let's see, what else? We could go ahead and we could pull in a pool party, because that goes with these 2 as well. But I'm not going to. I'm going to pull in a white. That's 3 cards. I will probably pull in another one of each of these. And I'm going to pull in a piece of probably another half sheet of white. And if I get adventurous, I might pull in another color. Let's see what I come up with. You can make these cards as simple or as complex as you would like. I'm going to keep this first one pretty simple. I'm going to start with those 3 1-inch by 1-inch squares. And I'm going to simply turn one of them over. So we've got, let's see, doesn't really matter, I guess. We're going to turn one of them over, and we're going to put that one in the middle. That's going to be different. Now I could keep this just like this. I think this would be great if it were a baby card. Perhaps you would even cut a layer that's a white layer, and you know what? Let's do that. I had something else all planned. I had cut these darker blue ones, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut white ones just to keep it soft for a baby. Because these are 1 inch by 1 inch, I'm going to start with a strip, and I shouldn't cut off camera, should I? I'm gonna start with a strip that is 1 1/8 inch wide. And then I'm gonna cut them all 1 1/8 inch in the other direction. Let me try to move it into camera view for you. Okay, so we have that. Now we're going to adhere all these pieces. Just with a little bit of glue. You can use any adhesive that you want. Just want to get them nicely lined up. The glue allows you a little bit of wiggle room to get them just the way you want them. Remember, one of these is not like the other two. So what I like to do is, if I apply glue to what would be the Coastal Cabana side on one, I then want to do the gingham on the other. And then I alternate back again. So I just did a Coastal Cabana showing, so I will glue the Coastal Cabana on the next one. All right. So there I have that. And if I put these on their ends, then they look kind of like an argyle, which is pretty fun for a baby, right? If you wanted to dress this up a little bit, you could take another piece of balmy blue and run it through that gingham folder. That would look nice. Or if you want to just keep it simple, but do something a little bit more, you can simply pop these up on dimensionals. And you can choose whether it's one in a corner, a couple of them, or if you want to just do one in the center. I'm just going to do one in the center. I think that'll be good enough. And when you're starting to line these up, start with the one that's in the center. And don't press down. So I'm just going to eyeball it there and put the other ones in to see if they make sense. And that actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to press them down a little bit more. So just the fact that they are up a little bit gives it a little bit more interest. Now, of course, if this is a baby card, we're going to need a saying here. So maybe we bring in congratulations. This is from that stamp set that I used, the Something Fancy that I used for the greeting on the loaded envelope. Let's go ahead and bring in a block. And I need a color that's going to go nicely with this. I am going to make the greeting bold, pretty bold, with the Night of Navy, I think. I'm going to stamp it right over here on the edge. Quick and simple card. Now, this is a pretty light card on the inside, so you don't really need to have anything on the inside. But if you chose to, of course, I would put a basic white layer in there, and maybe, maybe I would use up some of these strips or decorate it inside some other way. You could maybe, if you had a small heart punch or heart die, maybe cut that out of here, or even if you're brave, go ahead and fold it in half and cut your own heart. I mean, you can do that too. Remember doing this as a kid? I do. So you have a little heart that you can put inside. probably would look better against the white. See, you see your little heart there, and then you could write your message in there. So that's one card. Let's look at another card. So let's bring in these pieces right here. These were our first ones that we cut, remember? So I'm going to put one of these right here like this. Now I want to call a little bit more attention to this though. So I'm going to cut a piece. Let's see. Oh, that's just not quite enough. Yeah, it's not big enough. So I need to get a scrap that's a little bit bigger than that. And I will put that on here. So here's a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. So it's a little bit bigger than the layer that we cut originally, but it's smaller than the card base. So we have something that looks like that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good, right? Let's go ahead and adhere this down. I could adhere this with dimensionals if I wanted to. You can do anything you want, it's your card. And I can do anything I want on this card because it's my card. That's the beauty of making your own cards. All right, so now I have something that looks like this. And what are we going to do down here? Well, maybe we bring in that stamp set, the Beautifully Happy stamp set that we used before, only we use these little guys right here. I'm going to stamp this the way I stamped the other one. I'm going to begin with the little outline flower. And let's see how, now what I should have done is not adhered this down in case I make a mistake, and then I could have just flipped it around. But you know, I didn't do that, so let's just go with this. So there we have the outline of it. And we are going to add the flower. Let me clean this stamp block off, or the stamp off, and free up this block. I'm going to bring in the Balmy Blue for the flower, as I did on the loaded envelope. And I want to line this up as best I can. That's a little off, and it's not going to matter. Oh, it actually looks really nice. And then on my loaded envelope, I had used Pool Party, but it's not really Pool Party. That is this brighter green, although Pool Party does go with it. It is Coastal Cabana. So clean my stamp set again. I'm going to take this teeny tiny, there's this little stamp in here that does the stem portion and the bud. And I'm going to bring in my Coastal Cabana to do that. And just line this right up. It really does line up beautifully and stamps beautifully. And as I did before, I want to go ahead and bring in a yellow so that I can stamp the stamen pistil. I can't remember my science. I'm going to bring in the So Saffron again. Clean my stamp so I can use this tiny block. You always want to try to use the block that is best sized to your stamp, which I made a mistake and put down and almost lost this teeny tiny little guy. We're going to just stamp it right there in the center. Look how cute he is. And we need a sentiment. So let's see, for a very, let's see, sending happy thoughts for a very happy birthday. That's nice. I could also use a thank you. I'm going to use the sending happy thoughts and turn this into a birthday card. We'll stamp the other part of that saying. Inside, So let's see, there's 4 happy birthday. Here's the sending. Should have had my extra set of blocks out so I wouldn't have to clean these so often. All right, let's see. And what color am I going to stamp in? I think I will stick with my Coastal Cabana. Tie that all together. Sending happy thoughts. Now on this one, because the cardstock is a little darker, I am going to go ahead and add a white layer on the inside. But here's the layer on the outside. Again, pretty simple. If you wanted to dress this up a little bit, you could by adding some ribbon right here. You could add a piece of pool party ribbon with a little bow there. Obviously I can't now because I have put that down. Doesn't mean that I couldn't just tie a bow. This is the new pool party ribbon that is in the mini catalog. I'm not a big fan of bows with this ribbon because it's fairly thick. But look, you can tie one and put that on there with a glue dot. Probably go through the mail fine. Actually, that looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. In case you have not figured it out, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go. Because I've had no power, so I haven't been able to do a whole lot. If you want to add some gems to that, you can add some gems, but we will finish by putting another piece of white in here. And so this is about the same size. And if you want, you can, you know what, before I put it in there, I'm going to stamp another flower. So I'm going to just take this flower again, and we're going to stamp it just as we did on the outside, just to bring the outside to the inside a little bit. In order to do that, I need to find the stamp. And I didn't put it back where it belonged. Oh, there it is. Got it. Got it. We'll see how this edits. I might not even edit it down. I might just show you the pains I go through when I'm making these videos. I'll probably just put this right down here. So we have the inside of that little flower. Gotcha, right there. And then we need I'm going to put this away before I lose it. Let's put away properly. And I'm going to bring in these other 2 little pieces that get done in the Coastal Cabana. Put that right there. These are so tiny. I want to put them right back in the stamp set so I don't lose them. And then I'm going to keep my Coastal Cabana open because I'm going to use it in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and get the flower back out in Balmy Blue. And there we go. A nice little image on the inside. So now we just need to go ahead and stamp that inside saying, which was for a very happy birthday. And we'll just put this right up here. And honestly, I probably do the same thing on the next card so that it would look just the same. Only it might have a different card base. And I would maybe flip over the designer series paper. Depends what is on the back of the designer series paper. So that's a cute card. I like how that came out. All right, so what I'm saying is, say I take a different color base, but I take that other piece that we had that looked very similar. Here it is. And we can put this down here. So we need to cut another piece of white. We can put this down here. We don't have to. We can make a card that goes this way, and maybe we put a little saying in here. Let's go ahead and play around just a bit. I think I'm going to keep it like this, but I want a little bit of white. If I pulled in a little bit of white here and made that accent, that would be really nice. This piece of white is not long enough. But like most of you, you probably have a ton of these scraps. So what you can do is make one that's long enough. So I really want to just make this inside here. I want to square up these edges though. Before I do that, I'm going to adhere it down. So I don't want to go all the way to that other top edge because that's going to be showing. So remember what we're going to do here. Going to just make it a thin little, there we go, that looks good. And then you take your scissors and you start here, you just snip straight. And over here, it's a little bit harder. You don't want to start on this edge right here because who knows where you're going to start. Use this as a guide. So I'm just going to come right up against this edge. There we go. So I didn't care for, I like it as an accent, but I didn't care for this side to be the strong side. And that is why I just kept this one out here. But you certainly could have made these cards so that they were different patterns. So let's keep that like that. Now, what are we going to do up here? That's a good place for a sentiment. Yeah. Is that what I want to do? Oh, sure, why not? And I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this up on dimensionals, because that will add a little bit of dimension to the project, which is kind of why it gets its name, dimensionals. I'm gonna make it nice and sturdy. I'm gonna put a bunch down. Oop, see that Crash hair? So Crash, my cat that used to always come on these videos, has apparently given up on making more appearances. However, he is over in the corner of my room sitting on some boxes. He's actually sitting on the box that holds the Simply Scored tool. Two boxes, the Simply Scored tool and the Stamparatus tool that I'm going to be giving one lucky winner the choice of at the on February 1st. So anyone that places an order with me of $22 or more during the month of January will get that for free. No, we'll get entered into the drawing to get that for free. So one lucky winner will win something. All right, so I'm going to bring back in that Something Fancy stamp set that we had used on the envelope, and let's figure out what sentiment we want to put up here. This could be a sympathy card. Or I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching out the celebration. This kind of has a stretch feel to me. That wouldn't be bad, and that's a nice big sentiment. Let's go ahead and do that one. Because even though I have a birthday planner, I'm sure I'm still gonna miss birthdays. Honestly, I haven't even looked at it yet. All right, I'm gonna bring in, I believe, Night of Navy. We're going to just put that sentiment right up there. And it needs something now though, doesn't it? Let's bring in some bling. What kind of bling shall we bring in? Let's go ahead and bring in the bling that we used before on the card. Let's see. I'll take some of these dots here. Come on. Ooh, that one doesn't want to come up. All right. Still doesn't want to come. You know what? I think it's my take your pick tool. I think it's dead. My refill is on the way, but of course the storms have interrupted everything. So we'll just go back to using the scissors. Let's see. We'll put one there. And we'll put one here. And let's try another one up. We could dot the eye, even though it doesn't need the eye dotted. Let's see what that looks like. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm gonna take this one off, this little one off. I like the little ones a lot, but I'm gonna use a big one and put another one down here. Triangulate them. So again, another simple card. We'll just cut a piece of white cardstock to go inside, and we can stamp inside again, or do whatever we want to finish this card. But right now, I'm just showing you the fronts. All right, so I couldn't let it go. I decided I needed to add a little bit of a ribbon here, so I tied a bow. This is the, it's different than the ribbon that we just used. This is the Pool Party sheer ribbon, and it's just as lovely. So let me show you the difference between the two. This one is the one that's in the new mini catalog. It's a grosgrain ribbon, and this is the Pool Party sheer ribbon. So this is very sheer, very light and airy. All I did was thread it through here. I just had to pick up these dimensionals. I threaded it through there and just tied it in a bow, and I moved this little dimensional right here. So isn't that cute? That's pretty. Now the next card, we're going to use the Coastal Cabana base, and I'm going to pull in a piece of basic white cardstock. Oh, not this one. I've already cut this. So this is the 2 1/4 by 3 1/2 inch piece. I'm gonna mat it with a piece of basic white that is just 1/4 inch bigger. So 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. And it's just gonna go like that. I will dress it up just a bit. Let me show you how I do that. And so this is going to be the focal piece all on its own. I'm not even going to have a stamped image on this piece. Put that on there. There we go. Let me bring in this piece of sheer Pool Party ribbon that we just talked about. And tie a little bow. It's almost like a little present on top of the card. Oops, I missed grabbing it. This is very thin ribbon, which means it will mail very nicely. But it also means that sometimes you think you're grabbing it and you're not. So we will just go ahead and play with these ends a little bit so we get them the way we want them. And then I can trim. I think I need to trim this one down a little bit. So this is going to go up here, and it's going to go on a dimensional. Well, a bunch of dimensionals. Pull those in. So your cards can be super simple. You can let the paper do the work for you. Before I take the backs off that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what sentiment I want on here. If I stick with the Beautifully Happy set, I can just put in a thank you. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's find the thank you. It's right over here. And I'm going to stamp Pool Party on Pool Party. No, Coastal Cabana on Coastal Cabana. I'm going to move this up to the top a little bit. This will be stamped right here. It's just a sweet little thank you. I will just pull the dimensional backings off. And we only have one card to go after this. So just get that straight there. Now I just need to put in a little layer on the inside. This is just a thank you note, so I would not go ahead and necessarily stamp something, although this is one where I might go ahead. Let me just go ahead and cut something to go inside. So this is a 3 3/4 by 5 inch layer. That'll go there. And we'll just put our little heart down there. Oh, that's perfect. I don't like to write on the inside. I don't like to stamp a sentiment on the inside of thank you notes unless I want to say thank you, but I don't have a lot other to say than thank you. And then I might stamp an image. But I usually want to leave plenty of room to show my gratitude. There we go. For this last card, I'm going to just use a base of thick basic white. Bring in my 3 strips, and I have cut a piece of Night of Navy that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And let me tell you how I came up with that. So what I want to do, what I will be doing, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to put dimensionals on the backs of the paper. And I want to leave an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So that's about an 1/8 of an inch. And just like we did on the first card, the middle one is going to be flipped around. So it's a different pattern. Now you could use the same pattern if you wanted to. But again, I want an 1/8 of an inch in between there. And let's see, coming to the end of this dimensional sheet, which means time to use the bits and pieces along the edge. No need for that to go to waste. And then we have this right here. So how did I know what size to cut this blue piece? Well, I had this piece to start with, and I knew that I wanted my strips to, from these long edges, I wanted an 1/8 of an inch on each side. So I added a 1/4 inch. So I knew that had to be 2 3/4. Now, if I had done the same thing in the other direction, I'd add a 1/4, and that would make 2 1/2 inches. But you see there's a little space in between, and that's an 1/8 of an inch each. So I wanted to add another 1/4. So that made it 2 3/4. If you want to cheat, just write on your cheat sheet, use a layer that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then you have to decide, do you want it to go horizontally or do you want it to go vertically? Again, you could bring in a piece of ribbon if you wanted to dress this up. If you wanted to keep it very simple, you can keep it very simple. I don't know which way I want it to go, but let's see what I let's see what I have here for stamps. So I'm gonna use the Kindness Matters, I think. So we'll bring out Kindness Matters. And I think it will look nice if we go, it looks kind of nice either way. If I were live, I'd be asking you which you preferred, but I'm going to go ahead and have it be horizontal. Again, doesn't really matter. And what color? Now, because I've got that matte of Night of Navy, I will use the Night of Navy ink pad. Kindness Matters. Want to dress this up a little bit? You can. You can bring those glossy dots back in, and you can put some dots in these areas. Let's try. You know what? I probably should have put the darker one, the heavier one down here. And I'm gonna put this one up over here. And just it's a little triangular, it's just a little piece of interest. If you wanted to put a ribbon on, you could put a ribbon on. If you want to put a dot down here, you can put a dot down here. You can put anything anywhere you want. But here's just another simple thank you card. So those are our projects, but let's see them come together. So here we have our loaded envelope, not loaded. And here are the cards that we created, and I might stagger them a little bit so the recipient can see kind of what they're getting. You can stick that all in there. Well, I just staggered them so much that I can't get them in, but you know what I mean. Okay, those all, oops, I missed an envelope. Those all fit in there. Perhaps you find a pen that coordinates with the colors and you stick that in the front pocket, or maybe even a note in the front pocket, and you have a beautiful little gift to give someone. Not cards? Maybe you don't want to do cards. Maybe you want to do a pack of tissues, or maybe, let's see, how about something that, well, this doesn't coordinate. But maybe you've got a big Ghirardelli chocolate bar that goes in there, and you've got some other treats that you can stuff in there, some smaller treats that you can put in the front. You know, these are just some pens I have laying around, but you know, you can put anything in here and make a fun little treat for someone. In fact, I bought the Ghirardelli chocolates because I have a friend who is recovering from surgery, and she loves cards, and she sends lots of cards. So I thought I'd make her some to send, and include some chocolate. But I learned she's not eating candy right now, so that's no good. And it doesn't sound like it's related to her surgery, so she might not be eating candy, period. So this is what she gets instead. Thank you for joining me for Tune In Tuesday on Wednesday. Thanks to our lovely power outage situation in Wells. I do have my power back on. As I was preparing to complete this video, the power did come back on. So hooray! Still don't have internet, but one step at a time. Remember, because this is an online class, I would like to bring the class kit to you. And so if you place an order of $35 or more in my online store, and the link is in the description of this video, if you place an order between now and January 29th, that did say 28th at the beginning of this video, but it's 29th, Sunday, using this host code. And again, the link that is in the description of this video has that host code already populated. An order of $35 or more will get you the contents needed to create this loaded envelope, including the cards and envelopes that go in it. And you will also be entered into that drawing for my 22nd Stamp-a-versary celebration, which is your choice of either a Stamp-a-ratus or a Simply Scored tool. So everyone who places a $22 or more order this month gets entered into that random drawing, and I will be drawing that on February 1st. If your order is $50 or more, you will get to choose a Sale-a-bration item, and you can choose any of the $50 level items. Remember, this is the $100 level, so that will not be eligible. But there are some great $50 levels, or you might need enough supplies to get you to this beautiful stamp set. If your order is $50 or more, you get that Sale-a-bration item, but I will also throw in a package of these Pearl Basic Jewels. Again, this is my anniversary month, and I am feeling like I want to give a little bit extra away. So that's what's going to come in with this class kit. Thank you again for joining me. If you have any questions, you will get the PDF for this as well. And so you will have this template so you don't have to furiously scribble it down from the video. So thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, you can email me at stamperhood@gmail.com. Have a great rest of your week.